Yo, what is up? We are back, and it's been a whole nother week, and Financial Mirror's back here. This has been an interesting week. I had a lot going on, so it's been an interesting week. But all in all, life goes on, right? So this is a continuation of the series that I started last week. So as you all know, or if you don't know, if you tuned in last week, you probably heard me talk about it. But April's a great month. Uh, for the simple, really just the simple fact that it's Financial Literacy Month, and it's a nationally recognized campaign, brings awareness to the need for more financial education in schools and obviously for adults, right? And obviously, I take that extremely serious. Running that, I I do try to help people get to where they want to be financially by doing this every week, by bringing knowledge to some that either just need a little encouragement, or that simply just need someone to fill in the blanks on some of the things that they already know. They just need a little bit more information on it. That's what I do every single week as I bring a new episode to you. Um, and hopefully this series just really helps. It really becomes eye opening, because at the end of this, what I really want to see happen is I want to see transformation in people's lives, right? So please, if you really got something out of this, if you really um, got something changed in your life after hearing a part of this series or the whole series or whatever, please reach out. info@thefinancialmirror.org is the email. You can go to thefinancialmirror.org. At the bottom, there's a contact sheet you can fill out. But I'd love to hear about that. I'd love to hear about any successes that you had along the way. This episode goes out on all major podcast platforms every Tuesday. So at any time, if you know someone that's in need of just getting a little encouragement, getting a little assistance around their financial health, then I encourage you, share this. Simply share the link to the podcast, share the link to the video on YouTube, Facebook, what have you, so that we can get this information out. I really enjoy helping people. I really enjoy helping people get to where they want to be financially, and this is how I achieve that. I do want to start off by saying, as I stated last week, that nothing in this whole series is going to be easy, but in the end, you will be thankful for everything that you're going to take away from it. So I know I sound like a broken record, especially if you watched or listened to this last week, but it's very important to all the listeners, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this later on YouTube or Facebook. But go listen to last week's episode, all about goal setting. It's all about setting the goals needed to get to where you want to be financially. And I know most people don't look at it like that. Most people don't look at it, well, what do I need a goal for? I have a goal to, lose 10 pounds. But you should have a goal to drop $10,000 in debt as well, right? These should be goals that you have, and you have to define those goals. And last week's episode will give you a good framework for that. This week's going to build on that. As you can see by the title, we're talking completely and solely about building your financial plan. So as a continuation, this whole series, 4-week series, is going to be It's going to continue and build upon each other. So knowing that you have your goals from last week, right? You went in, you set those goals. Now we're going to build on that, and I'm going to talk through how to build out that plan that's necessary to achieve those goals. Okay, so that's how this whole series is going to run. So then next week, we'll build on this, and we'll do more plan implementation type stuff, and how to work that piece. But ultimately, this whole series is I want this whole Financial Literacy Month series to be all inclusive of taking a holistic approach, spending this month giving a complete 4-week framework that people can listen to and understand how to achieve what they want to achieve financially. And then some of these obviously are applicable to life in general, right? So without further ado, we'll get right into it. So I want to start off and give just this is a very simple goal. I'm gonna set the framework for this whole episode. Okay, so I'm gonna use. So if you watched last week's episode, you'll know we talked about SMART goals, which is the basic framework that you'll hear any if you've ever been talked to about goals or anything, you would have heard about SMART goals, right? So I'm going to go through and I'm going to build out a goal, right? And I'm going to give you some examples, and we're going to use this same goal for the whole entire episode. We're going to talk and bring this exact goal up so I can show you, because I want to take you from this to be the connecting part, right? Where I connect you from last week's goal setting to this week's planning, building out this plan. Okay, so I'm going to create a SMART goal. So to start off, if you remember, the S is for specific, so it's supposed to be a very clear goal. So it's not going to be a goal like I'm going to pay off debt, right? Like, because I am going to pay off debt is not specific at all. You're specifying what you're going to do, but it's not very specific. Versus, listen to this, and you can see how much more specific. And this is the type of goal you want to achieve. I'm going to pay off the $1,000 balance on my American Express by the end of July 2021. So you can see that is very specific. Like, if by the end of July 2021 you still have a $1,000 balance on your American Express, you did not achieve your goal, right? That's very specific. Is it measurable? So just to say I'm going to pay off my debt, that's not really measurable. It is if you're talking, you're going to pay off all of your debt, right? If your goal was to pay off all of your debt, then saying I'm going to pay off my debt is measurable, right? But if we're talking specifically right here about a $1,000 balance on your American Express credit card, you're not going to say pay off is not measurable, because to anyone else, pay off, no one knows what it means. But you have to be measurable in the fact that I'm specifically talking about the $1,000 balance on my American Express, not talking about the $15,000 car loan that I have, right? Specifically, I'm measuring this by my American Express balance. So attainable is this? So goals are supposed to stretch you, right? They're supposed to stretch you out. They're supposed to make you feel like you're having, challenge you, right? But it's not supposed to frustrate you. Okay. So if paying off $1,000 balance is realistic, then that's attainable, right? If not, maybe $500 by the end of July 2021 is better, suited, and maybe the other $500 by the end of September 2021. But it has to be an attainable goal, okay? This is important because as you'll see later on when we're looking at this, you'll start to see that attainable. If a goal is not attainable, that frustration that begins to build up inside of you can actually begin to lead to what makes you fail at achieving that goal. Okay, so making these goals attainable is very important. So is it relevant? Relevant in the R, I use relevant. Realistic, there's tons out there what that R means, but I'm going to use relevant today. And what that means is, is this goal relevant to my overall life plan, right? So if it's not relevant to your overall life plan, that's okay. You need in some capacity, it needs to be, built into your overall, like, how does this benefit you? And it might benefit you in a way that, if we're talking just life goals, it might just benefit you in a way that it brings you a slight sense of joy by accomplishing this goal. And it might not have anything financial related, any kind of financial gain from it, but just to be able to build into your overall happiness, that's important. And then finally, time. Is it measurable from a time perspective, right? So I'm going to read it out again. So the SMART goal that I'm created for this episode is I am going to pay off the $1,000 balance on my American Express by the end of July 2021. And I'm going to use that throughout this episode. Okay. So remember that is a very well-structured goal. Write that down. If you need an example to see, like, sort of how your goals should be structured, specifically talking finances, but maybe you have You want to use, the same principle applies just to life goals in general. So look at that and write that down as an example so that you have it. So what I want to hit on before I get into the actual planning is I want to discuss the idea of failure, right? So before we actually get into the plan, I want you to sort of take a second step back and let's look at what's made you fail on goal planning or goals or planning in general. Like we can separate the two, or what's made you fail on your past experiences on achieving goals. What's made you fail on past experience of planning? What is it? So first off, I'm going to tell you, to answer this question, you've got to be honest with yourself. All right. So when I originally was coming up with a name for this stream, for this podcast, the financial mirror is what came to mind, for the simple fact that you have to change what you see in the mirror to get to where you want to be. That doesn't have to just be financially. Now, the financial mirror, what I'm hoping is that this episode, that this collection of episodes, that this entirety of its stream can help you get to where you want to be financially, right? And everything I talk about is financial driven. But when you look at everything in a whole, you have to realize that it's still you that's got to get you to where you want to be. All right. So what's made you fail in the past is the question. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is I want you to acknowledge the fact that you have to be honest with yourself, or your plan is never going to work, because of the simple fact that if you're not honest with yourself, your plan will also not be realistic, right? It will be, all of a sudden, it won't really be attainable, because the plan you created is not really up your alley. Like you're really not even for it. Like you're just doing it because you think that's what you need to do, right? Or you're doing that because I'm saying that's what I'm encouraging you to do. But that's not really the part that I want to get to. I want you to be honest with yourself, because then we can create a structured plan that's achievable, and will help you get to where you want to be. So the next thing is and all of this is just thinking points, right? To sort of help you think about what's made you fail in the past. So not being honest with yourself can lead to bad plans. Blaming is something you have to refrain from whenever you are building out these plans, because blaming will lead you to fail on your plan, right? Because the simple fact that if you're trying to achieve a goal, but you're constantly blaming someone else or something else or another outside entity, is taken away from the simple fact that your plan has issues and you have to address those. So when we have a good plan, right, we build out a good plan, blaming doesn't really help you, because it's let's be honest with each other right here, but blaming doesn't help you when it's your plan, because you failed. You failed to achieve your plan, right? So you can blame everything else around you, but it's your developed plan, right? So if you thought that this plan was going to get you to your goal, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, I want you to remember it was your plan. And you have to adjust. You have to adjust your plan, move forward, and then try to change that. Try to change that outcome, right? So in the military, we were taught that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? So you can build out this luxurious plan with every detail, everything to a T. And then all of a sudden, the enemy has a play in it, and they have a decision, or they create a decision point for you as a leader. So they have a say so. The enemy has a say so in how your plan is executed. It's not going to be perfect. Your plan towards your goals are not going to be perfect, but they're a plan and they're a great framework to follow. You may have to adjust. You may have to shift things around. Things may not go as planned. But that's okay. Don't let that detract you from your goal. This is still your goal, and you can achieve it. 100% you can achieve it. You just have to plan it out. Then just something else to think about when you're thinking about what's made you fail in the past, is a lot of people fail because of a lack of focus. And this all comes into them not understanding their why. So why do you want to achieve this goal? If you want to achieve this goal because that's how your family's always done it, or if you want to achieve this goal because that's something that your parents wanted you to do, or if you wanted to achieve this goal because of something at that you think you want, you have to toe the line on that and figure out what is your why that you want to achieve this goal. And if you know your why, fulfilling out this whole entire goal and achieving it and building out this plan and living by this plan, right, becomes that much easier. So stop for a second, think, learn what has made you fail in the past, address it, be honest with yourself, address it, don't blame others, address your mistakes of what you did to fail in the past on goal achieving and planning, so forth and so on. Get this plan together and you will be laser focused if you know your why. Okay. So that's sort of the build up to that. So now we can move into the actual planning. Okay. So we've got our failed past behind us. Everything that's made you fail in the past is no longer relevant. You can forget about it, acknowledge it and forget about it. And now you can proceed to actually plan for your goal. So last week, as I said, we talked about goal setting, and today we're going over completely planning out to achieve those goals. So whether you are a basic pen and paper or some fancy programmer that loves to do the coding and all that, you've got to determine how you're going to track this plan. How are you going to track the plan? How are you going to track the progress? Because I don't really care. I don't really care how you do it. I just want to encourage you to identify a method to track your progress, because being able to track the progress that you're doing is important. So this could be Google Calendar, which they've included Google Task into the Google Calendar. This could be an Excel spreadsheet. This could be a couple apps like Toggle Track and Wunderlist. That's just to name a few of those. So if you want to go the application route on your phone, or if you want to go computer route, like whatever route you want to take, pen and paper, obviously you can do that, just a basic paper calendar. But you got to track and plan out this stuff, right? And it doesn't matter how, you just need to know where you're going to track your progress, because the idea behind that is you can see it. You have to see your progress. You have to see your plan every day, every other day, however often you're looking at it. And you have to see that you're making progress towards your goal. So determine how you're going to track it, and then we'll get into the planning. So it's not as hard as you think to plan for these things, but I want to give you the approach that is recommended and comes highly recommended by me. When you're looking at planning, it's important that you backwards plan. All right. So work backwards to set milestones along the way. And if you've heard of backwards planning before, that's great. But I'm going to run you through. So I gave you that goal at the beginning, right? I gave you that goal. I'm going to pay off the $1,000 balance on my American Express by the end of July 2021. That was the goal. We set that right at the beginning. Now, I'm going to walk you through the mindset, the thought process of how you take this SMART goal, and then you create a plan that's structured around helping you achieve that goal. Okay. So, if you know you want to pay off your American Express balance of $1,000 a month, or $1,000 by the end of July 2021, that's a roughly 3-month period from today, which is April the 11th. So roughly 3 months. You need to start at the end goal, and you need a plan backwards. So when you think of backwards planning, what I want you to realize is that you're not really thinking about backwards planning in a sense of time. Okay, you're not like, well, let me start at July whatever and let me start to ease my way back. That's if you're like reverse planning for, well, like I know I need to be to, I need to get to the doctor's office at, let's say, 2:00, and I know it's going to take me 10 minutes to drive in traffic. That means I need to leave at 1:45, or to give me 5 extra minutes, or and then I need to stop by the store and get this. That's going to take me 20 minutes, so I need to leave at 1:25. Like, that's reverse planning for an event, right? When we're talking about goal reverse planning, I'm going to throw a wrench at you, because it's backwards from what people think about when they think about any kind of reverse psychology of that magnitude when it comes to planning. What I want you to think about when we're doing this like reverse or backwards planning is that you have to look at what your end goal is, and then you have to break that out into chunks. All right. So if I know my balance is $1,000, let's say that it's going to accrue interest right over the next 3 months. So let's assume that my balance is roughly $1,020 that you actually need to pay off. All right. Well, we're going to have to break that out into chunks. So $340 a month is over 3 months is going to be needed to achieve that goal. All right. So $340 now represents milestones, because you know that after month 1 you need $340 paid off. After month 2 you need $340 paid off. After month 3 that would be your last $340 and your debt is paid. Your credit card's paid off. You no longer have $1,000 balance on your American Express. However, what if at the end of month 1 you only have $300 paid off on your American Express? Well, you're currently on path to fail at your goal that you've set in place. So that's why these milestones or these progress reports are necessary. So when you're looking at backwards planning for our SMART goal here, the structure is more like this. You take your end goal, which is $1,000 paid off of your American Express by the end of July, and you break it down to chunks. So now I have 3 chunks of $340. Okay. 3 chunks. I've got $340 in the month of April, $340 in the month of May, $340 in the month of June, or technically roughly like that. But if I started today, it'd actually be $340 from April to May, June to July. Okay. But anyways, all the timetables, all that, we have roughly 3 months to pay off $1,020. Okay. So when backwards planning, what we're actually doing is we're starting at 1,000. We broke it into those chunks. Now we're going to start figuring out and planning how we're going to achieve $340 in each of those chunks, right? So you're going to take your first month, your second month, and your third month, and you're going to figure out and plan out how you're going to achieve that smaller portion now, right? So when we're thinking about backwards planning in terms of financial goals, we have to break it out into mini goals, mini milestones, mini progress report, checkpoints, whatever. And we have to achieve those. So the strategy is all about breaking your big goal into smaller, achievable chunks. Then you make a plan to achieve those chunks. Then along the way, you end up completing your goal, which in our case is $1,000 paid off on our credit card. So inside of those chunks, you're building out your plan. Those are your actions. Those are the things you have to do. You have to do everything that is in, that you have planned out in month 1 to hit 340, everything in month 2 to hit 340, and everything in month 3 to hit 340. Now, sticking to that example, as I said we would do, you are the one that knows your particular situation. You are the one that knows how you can best accomplish getting $340 a month to pay towards this debt. So maybe you need to pick up another job to do it. Maybe you can't do it with your current income. Maybe you got to pick up a side hustle. Maybe you have to get, do something else. Maybe you have to ask for more hours at work. Maybe you have to work overtime. Maybe you have to do something to generate more money, more income. Do a yard sale, something, but your goal doesn't change. Don't adjust your goal because of what it takes to get there. Figure out a way, think about it, think hard about it, figure out a way to get to your goal utilizing these small little milestones and grind hard for those little milestones. All right. Maybe your plan to get to 340 is you're going to cut $85 a week off of your grocery bill, right? That would be $340 a month and you would achieve it. So you spend $85 less at the grocery store every week and your $340 is right there. You didn't pick up any extra income. You didn't, do anything extra other than you just went for a cheaper grocery bill. Maybe you calculated that you spend $340 on like takeout or coffee or any other thing that people, normally spend, extra money in, right? I don't know. I don't know what the details of your plan needs to be. I can't answer that piece. If you're interested in financial coaching, I do financial coaching, and I would be happy to help you. I'd be happy to assess your situation. Just go to thefinancialmirror.org. Go to the bottom at the contact form, and email me, hit me up, let me know that's something that you're interested in, and I will definitely reach out to you. You can always go to the show links, and there's a quick link to a contact form there. But I don't know your current situation. I don't. And what has to happen though is you have to decide how you're going to achieve those small chunks, how you're going to get to each of those milestones so that in the end you can achieve your goal. The major thing though is to write this down. Sit down, take a moment. Because if this goal is important to you, if achieving this goal is actually important to you, you will do what it takes to get it done. You will. If this goal actually means something to you, like you actually know the why, like I want to do this because of this, you have to understand the fact that it may take a little uncomfortable. It may take a little, of discomfort. I said uncomfortable, a little discomfort, right, to get there. But if you know your why, build out this plan is going to feel like second nature because of the simple fact that you are, you want this. This is something you actually desire. So, build this stuff out and know that you have to achieve these many wins, right? Many goals. And then in the long run, you'll be happier. So, let's look at one thing that all of a sudden can hamper your plan. Let's say that you have this huge expense coming up in the month of June, and you need that's going to hamper your ability to get 340 put into your this credit card. Well, that goes into that planning part. If you know that you've got this huge bill coming up in June that it's going to take some of your income. Well, that's where these mini goals come in. You're going to have to shift how much you're going to pay in the month of May and how much you're going to pay in the month of April, right? You've got to figure that out. So you have to be honest with yourself, figure it out, build your plan, and all of that stuff should be in your plan. Every single detail should be in your plan. The more detailed your plan, the harder it is to veer from it. Okay. So I'm going to give you some things to consider while you're building your plan. All right. So when it comes to planning these things, here's some things you consider. First off, nothing, and I mean nothing is going to happen overnight. So your plan's got to fit your goal. If your goal is to pay off all of your debt, and let's say you have $30,000 in debt, saying I'm going to pay all of my debt in 6 months or in 3 months, use my same example, is not the same as saying I'm going to pay off $1,000 credit card balance. So nothing happens overnight. You're not going to get this stuff done overnight. So don't plan it that way. Don't plan to fail. All right. The longer term your goal is, the more chunks and milestones are needed. If you have a goal to pay off $30,000 in debt, you're going to have a ton of milestones to build out. You're going to have a ton of action items to complete. You can't strive to achieve a goal to pay off your debt blindly either. You've got to have those milestones, or how do you know how much you're going to, like how much do you need to have to pay your debt, or which debt do you pay first, or when can you realistically finish paying this off, right? Because that's a huge motivation piece. Not knowing when it is that you can realistically pay off your debt will actually begin to discourage you when you don't really know, and you're making progress in paying off your debt, but you don't really know what the end when the end is, and all of a sudden you're gonna begin to feel a little discouraged because of the simple fact that you're no longer you don't have a plan to get there. So whenever you start to feel a little discouraged, it's probably because you either forgot your why, or your plan is just not really seeming realistic. So go back, sit down, check out your plan, and make sure that you're planning to succeed, right? You've got a plan that's going to help you succeed. And then finally, you cannot do everything at once, and that's something you really have to consider. So don't try to put in your plan that you're going to achieve all of your goals at one time. Don't even plan to where you're going to try to work on all of your goals at one time. Build a plan around, one or two goals, and then work to achieve those goals. Once you're complete with those goals, begin to, plan on the next thing. It's like, do you want to be, average at everything, or great at a few things, right? So you could spread your wealth and try to sow your seed all across, every single, thing that you possibly can. But ultimately, you want to be great at a few things. You want to really dial in that effort to go into those one or two goals, finish those up, and then move on to the next. All right. So hopefully that gives you a good idea behind how you can sort of think about these plans, how you can sort of begin to build these plans, how you can begin to understand that it's more than just having the goal, but it's more the plan. The goal is not gonna achieve itself, right? You've got to have the plan to get there. So I want to wrap it up by saying, if you're not building a plan to achieve your goals, you are more likely to fail at ever achieving those goals. All right. As I stated last week, a goal without a plan is a wish. If your goal is to get out of debt, and you don't have a plan to do it, you're really wishing you were out of debt. If your goal is to not live paycheck to paycheck, but you don't have a plan to get there, you're really wishing you didn't live paycheck to paycheck. If your goal is to buy a house and you don't have a plan to start to buy a house, you're really wishing you could buy a house. Like, all of these things are wishes until you write these goals down and you build out the plan. By writing the plan down, you build out that plan to get there. So write down your goals, and that gives you a chance to begin to create the plan to achieve those goals. So every goal has a plan. Every goal is very defined, and then you use the plan. That you create a plan to achieve that goal, and then you use that plan to achieve it. It's really that easy. You shouldn't be doing 2 or 3 of them at once, just one, maybe 2, and then write them down. Make sure you write them down. 43% more likely to ever achieve that goal if you write it down. There's statistics. It is absolute statistics. You are almost, your chances of completing that goal 43% higher if you write your plan or your goal down with the plan. So if you spend your days complaining about your current situation, if you really are wasting days complaining, if you're really just like, man, I really want to make a change in my life, I encourage you, let this be the month. Follow me through this series. Let this be the month. Let this be the month that you really begin to understand that you can have a very bright financial future. You can achieve the things that you want to achieve. You can do the things that you want to do, because true freedom lies in the fact when you're no longer having to think about money. You're no longer having to deal with the issues of not being very healthy financially. When you don't have to deal with those things, life just gets easier, and you can start doing the things that you want to do to actually be the person that you want to be. That's not, you're not bogged down and weighed down with finances. So follow this series along. Catch last week if you missed it, and continue to tune in every Sunday as we work through this financial literacy month, and starting that journey to get you to where you want to be financially. As I've always said, if you enjoy the episode, please go to the podcast, leave a 5-star review. If you're watching this live, don't forget to leave a comment at the bottom. Just let me know how much you're enjoying it. It really does motivate me. It really does give me a great sense to know that there's people out there being helped. And if you're, like I said, if you're listening to this on a podcast, leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to leave a comment at the bottom. Just let me know that you're loving it. Let me know that you really get something out of it. Always love doing that, and absolutely gives others a sense of encouragement to know that they can do it too. So once again, tune in every Sunday. The podcast releases every Tuesday. Until next week, hope you have a great week. Go ahead, take your time, take the next week to build out this plan, and I'll catch you next week when we actually go into working to achieve these. Till next week. Peace.